Hi folks, I'm Miss Erin from C.C. Mellor Memorial Library, here for today's middle grade moment. This program is offered as part of the Allegheny County Library Association's summer reading program this year. So if you're looking for other great programs provided by ACLA and ACLA librarians across the county this summer, you can visit aclasummerreading.org for more information and links to more programs. This week we're talking about music. ACLA has invited the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra to do some programs with them. So I'm going to have some information and a link to register for a program that's happening online tomorrow on Friday at the end of this. But I thought we could talk about some books about music because music is super important and many teens and tweens like reading about music almost as much as they like listening to music, right? So the books that we're going to talk about today are all about different kinds of music. So let's get started. The first one is called Clayton Byrd Goes Underground, and it's by Rita Williams-Garcia. And it's the story of Clayton Byrd, who is a kid growing up in New York City, and he's really close with his grandfather, Cool Papa Byrd. And Cool Papa is a blues musician. He's a singer, he's a guitar player, and he's a band leader who hangs out with his friends and plays blues music in local parks and in clubs. And Clayton Byrd goes out with him sometimes and is always hoping to get his turn in the songs. He's really hoping to get his own solo, his own piece of the show. So he's been learning how to play the harmonica, the blues harp. And he keeps saying, "Can I have a solo now, Cool Papa? How about now, Cool Papa? How about now?" And Cool Papa always says, "You're getting good, but you're not quite ready yet." Unfortunately, one night Cool Papa Byrd passes away in his sleep. And after his death, Clayton's mom, she limits what Clayton can do with blues music. She has a lot of memories of her father that are not as close to him as Clayton was. She remembers Cool Papa Byrd as a man who was always promising to be home with his family, but always ended up running away to the road or off playing music, and just really wasn't there for her when she was growing up. And so not only does she blame Cool Papa for that, but she also blames his favorite kind of music for that. She blames the blues. And so she has a lot of rules for Clayton about the blues and about her father. So this is a book where Clayton he's really hurting. He's feeling the death of his grandfather. He's feeling the death of his closest friend. And he really wants to be able to play the music that helps him remind him of his grandfather. And his mom is putting up walls and barriers around that music. So this is definitely a book where some of the decisions that Clayton Byrd makes, some of the decisions that his mom makes, even some of the decisions that we hear about Cool Papa Byrd making aren't great. A lot of them have consequences. A lot of them show what bad decisions they were, but you get to see them play out. You get to see how the characters react to them and how the rest of the world reacts to the choices they make. And you really get a sense of why the characters made those choices too. There's lots of information here about blues and blues artists that you should look up if you're interested in the blues as well. So again, this is Clayton Byrd Goes Underground. The next book that I want to tell you about is a little more summery. This is called Drum Roll Please by Jenn Bigelow. And it is the story of Melly. And Melly is a drummer. And she started playing the drums when her friend Olivia wanted to start a band. Her friend Olivia is a guitar player and she wanted to start a band, and she told Melly, "Oh, you should join us. You should learn how to play the drums." And Melly is always pretty agreeable. She likes being friends with Olivia. She likes getting to interact with her, and she likes getting to hang out with her friends. But she hasn't always stood up for herself when Olivia has ideas, and she hasn't always given her own input into the ideas. So this summer, Melly and Olivia go off to a camp where they get to camp in the woods and they get to form bands and practice their instruments all summer. And they get to camp and they get to bunk together and they're so excited to get started. And then it turns out that they've been placed in different bands to practice. And Olivia is distraught. And Melly is, you know, she's not thrilled to have to interact with other people, especially because the other kids in her band all like very different kinds of music. One of them's really into folk singing, another one is really into punk, and another is really into rock and roll, and Melly is kind of into pop. She's kind of bummed when everybody knocks Taylor Swift. She's not thrilled that all of her bandmates don't like the same kind of music she does, but she's willing to give it a try. And she's also starting to get close to the other girl in the band, Adelaide, and starting to feel like maybe she wants to be more than friends with Addie. So this is the story. This is called Drum Roll Please, and it's the story of Melly kind of finding her own voice and finding a way to stand up to her friends and finding a new place in the world and the ability to play music with a new group of people. All right. Next book is called The First Rule of Punk, and this is by Celia C. Perez. And this is about Malu. And Malu is a girl who lives with her mom, and her parents are divorced. Her dad owns a record shop and is always telling Malu about punk. And she's really leaned into the whole idea of being a punk. So she likes listening to the music. She likes dressing like a punk. She likes putting together zines and art projects that she thinks are punk. This is the only book that I read that is not specifically about a musician, but it's about somebody who's really into the music lifestyle, really into the music she's listening to, and really self-identifies with the music, which I don't know about you, but it reminds me a lot of where I was as a tween and a teen. And so the first rule of punk is that punk has no rules. Well, okay, so that's one of the rules of punk. But the first rule of punk that Malu is really referring to in this title is to be yourself. And so when she and her mom moved to a new city, they moved to Chicago, and she's moved away from her dad for the first time. She's moved away from his record shop and the friends that she already had and the life that she knew, and she's the new kid at school. And like I said, she's really leaned into the idea of punk and a do-it-yourself lifestyle and things that are scuffed up and reused and not new. And so she definitely sticks out at her new school and is trying to figure out how to not fit in, because she's not really interested in fitting in, but how to find her group, find her cohort, find the people that she wants to be around and make friends with them and get to know them better and make sure that she's still living up to the first rule of punk. Not the one about how punk has no rules, but the one where she has to be herself. So this is the first rule of punk. All right, the last book that I wanted to tell you about today, we talk a lot about novels in this middle grade moment. I'm often talking about books that are stories, that are fiction, but there's a lot of really great nonfiction out there too. So if you're interested in learning more about music, this is called Orchestra, and it's by Avalon, Nuovo, and David Duran. And it is a very illustrated nonfiction book about the orchestra. So there's lots of pictures about the history of orchestra and symphonies and composers. There's lots of information about different musical instruments, how they make noise, how they work, what do the buttons do, what are other instruments that are related to that are in the same section of the orchestra, how do they fit together, how do they differ, all of that kind of thing. So if you're interested in orchestras and symphonies, this is a great book to check out. There's also some information about different composers across history. some of their compositions, some of their different symphonies that are really well known and very famous. But there's also a reminder that a symphony is all well and good. There's some really amazing pieces of music out there, but music is still being created. You can still find it in movie soundtracks. You can still find it in operas and musicals and plays. So even though we call this kind of music classical music a lot of times, it's still very much in conversation in modern music. So if you're interested in orchestras and symphonies, I want to encourage you to check out the link that I'm going to post in the comments as our activity today. It's a link to register for a program with the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, and that program is happening tomorrow on Friday. And so if you're interested, go ahead and put in your registration now so that you can get a link to the program. It is happening at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow. And it should be really cool. It's all about how to tell stories with music. So these are the books that we talked about this week. I hope that you find some interesting books about music. I hope that you find something that you're interested in looking at further, reading this summer. You can put all of these books on hold through the Allegheny County Library Association's online catalog and schedule them for pickup at your local library. Until next week, when we'll have another middle grade moment, I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll see you next Thursday. Bye!